Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Before I begin today, a big thank you to James for the virtual gift voucher. Huge thank you my friend for the support, it is truly appreciated, thank you. But on to today. Today, oh boy, we finally arrive at Night Lords Week. And where better to begin than with the event that shaped their future more than any other, as they dealt with the death of the Night Haunter. Spoiler warning to begin, the events we are discussing today are from the novel Soul Hunter by ADB. As always, I really recommend you read the story for yourself first, as that's the best way to enjoy the lore for yourself. Not only that, we help to support the great Games Workshop and Black Library, because without them, we don't have this amazing lore to talk about. I will put a link in the description as always. But with that said, let's just jump straight in. As we know, the Space Marine legions were truly shaped by their relationships with their Primarchs, and none more so than the Night Lords with their father Konrad Curze. The gift or perhaps curse of foresight that Konrad Curze possessed is by now legendary. Blessed with visions of futures to come, Konrad was aware of possible events coming to pass seconds, days, weeks, years, and even centuries in advance. The tragedy of this gift, however, is that Curze became obsessed with the portents that he saw, not seeing them as possibilities to come, but as inescapable fate. And this contributed hugely to his descent into insanity, ultimately believing his death at the hands of the Imperial assassin acted as vindication for all of his actions. And to that end, to ensure his fate was delivered as he needed it to be, as the Primarch sat waiting amid his fortress of night and darkness, he ordered all of his sons to allow the assassin entry, his final decree that none will harm the tool of the Emperor's wrath. But even as he did so, he knew there would be one son who would disobey his Primarch, the apothecary Talos. And it was Talos who shared his Primarch's gift of foresight, and so Curze christened him the Soul Hunter. Talos, as any legionary, finds the thought of disobeying his Primarch as inconceivable, a sacrilege. But as the thought of the assassin taking his Primarch's life flows through him, his rage is overwhelming, and his thirst for vengeance cannot be contained. The assassin will die, and he will die by Talos's hand. And so Talos gives chase to his father's slayer. As Talos chases the assassin through the Darkfield corridors, his brothers are in mourning, shattered by their Primarch's death. Despite Curze long prophesizing it, despite it being his wish, the actual arrival of this moment has truly shattered his legion. Cries of confusion and hurt fill the Vox as Talos hunts his prey, crying for him to stop, telling him he's betraying the Night Haunter. But all of his brothers' cries fall on deaf ears, for they will join him in the hunt soon enough. Now, the Night Haunter's death, long an intriguing mystery in the lore, due entirely to the only evidence of it being a video from the assassin that ominously cut out in the climactic moment, is truly unravelled here. The Calidus assassin, the pinnacle of the Imperium's genetic manipulation, technology and training, carries the head of the slain Primarch in her grip, his blood leaving a dripping trail as she moves through the darkness. And it's a very surreal moment to see. For many years all we had is the legacy of the Pict feed cutting out in the climactic moments like I said. It always left that element of mystery, the smallest sliver of doubt, that maybe, just maybe, somewhere out there in the void, the Night Haunter still lived. However unlikely that may be. But here, it couldn't be any more evident. She is literally carrying the severed head of the Primarch in her hand. The scent of the Emperor's work arising from the blood as she travels. I almost feel like I'm one of the Night Lords here just reading it, stunned into silence by the scene. And here, despite being a legion of criminals and murderers, we get to see the character that can exist in that brotherhood, even if only briefly. As the assassin passes Night Lords within the labyrinth of corridors, each of them to a man freezes at the sight of her. Some frozen in shock at what she carries, most filled with a fury so volatile that their very bodies tremble to unleash it, yearning to draw their weapons. Some even venting their anger with insults as the Calidus passes by. But all of them obeyed their Primarch's order and let the assassin pass unharmed, however much they wished otherwise. All of them, that is, save Talos, who ambushes the assassin amid the dark, even managing to nick her arm with his chainsword. Now that's a rather pathetic outcome for a normal Astartes encounter, I grant you, but against an Imperial assassin, it's nigh on remarkable. But once more the Calidus assassin disappeared into the depths, at a speed that Talos could not hope to follow, and as he prepares to continue his hunt, more arguments arise on the Vox. The seniors of the Legion, the captains of the companies, now begun to vie for power. The sons of the Night Haunter had recovered their desperate ambitions quickly enough. Talos heard them whining and raging in his ears, and he found himself smiling at their furious and helpless disbelief. She has taken his signet ring, one stormed. His crown, another wailed like a lost child. Our father had not foreseen this, one of them said. And then the ultimate hypocrisy. They demanded the entire Legion do now for greed what they had been cursing Talos for attempting in the name of vengeance. She must be slain for this, they cried. She has transgressed against us all. The names of the Legion's relics stolen from their rightful inheritors was a litany Talos had no desire to listen to. He tuned out their voices, so suddenly full of righteous indignation. How soon his brethren turned from faith and love in their Gene-sire to grave doubts. The very same moment they realised the assassin had stolen weapons and relics they believed were theirs to inherit. Such greed. Such pathetic, disgusting greed. Talos despised them all in that moment. Never before had the sickening ambition of his corruptible brothers been shown so clearly, and so was born the hatred that would never heal. Now, in true Night Lord fashion, it's no surprise to me that the captains of the Legion would seek to claim the Primarch's relics, to use them as a symbol of their right to rule in his stead. Especially now with Sevatar apparently dead. But I don't think the Night Lords are alone here. I think most, if not all, of the traitor legions would have done exactly the same thing. But that being said, it also works both ways. The excuse to go after the Primarch's relics gives them a convenient excuse to break the Primarch's last decree, and perhaps exact their vengeance on his slayer. Talos may only see greed, and there's no doubt the power-grabbing captains undoubtedly must have that in mind. but to label all of his kin within this label, I think is unjust. Just because he disobeyed his Primarch's last wish does not mean he alone is in the right. He merely chose to indulge his grief, while many of his brothers, despite struggling to physically restrain their outright fury, honoured their Primarch's, their father's last wish. Maybe, just maybe, Talos is allowing a little self-hatred to influence his emotions here. But regardless, the story continues with the assassin reaching her ship and making a dash into the void of space, and she is pursued by the entirety of the Night Lord's fleet in orbit. All of the sons of the Night Haunter racing to their Thunderhawks to reboard their vessels to give the chase. And ultimately, it takes little time to disable her vessel, boarding pods firing immediately. And here is where the lore takes an interesting twist. As the Night Lords surge through the Imperial vessel, unleashing their revenge, the Eldari arrive. Now, why the Eldar choose to strike the Night Lords now remains known only to the Xenos, but their fleet wasted no time in unleashing upon the Night Lord ships, and squads of their race even teleported aboard the Imperial vessel, only to be cut down by the rampaging Astartes on their quest for vengeance. Now, we'll dive into the reasonings and intentions of the Eldar here at a later date, but could perhaps they have been intent on retrieving the Night Haunter's crown, the Corona Nox, long rumoured to hold an Eldar Spirit Stone? And if the Night Haunter was wearing this when he was slain, well, the lore could yet take another interesting turn. The Eldar were clearly after something, and they wanted it badly. With the retreat ordered to return to their ships, the Night Lords rushed to face this new threat. First Captain Sahel immediately leaving aboard his flagship, the Umbria Insidior, after reclaiming one of the Night Haunter's relics, abandoning not only the rest of his company, but the Legion as a whole, as his ship retreats away from the battle, sacrificing his kin. But as the battle rages, amid all this carnage and confusion, the Calidus assassin still lived. Battered, blooded, and even missing a hand, the assassin had always been more than a match for a single Astartes. But unfortunately for her, the Night Lords didn't believe in a fair fight, 5 of them assaulting her at once, leaving her behind in the chaos as a mangled wreck. Now, as the Calidus bandaged her stumped wound, there is one predator still left amid the dark. By the time the wounded assassin turned, Talos's fingers were around her neck, and he spat directly into her face, the acidic saliva of the Astartes burning away at the face of her skull, eating into her eyes. The assassin launched her final assault. Blind and deaf, she had but one gambit left, and with everything that remained of her strength, she leapt at the darkness for where her enemy must be. She was right. But Talos was ready, impaling his father's slayer upon his chainsword. "My father told me of this night," he whispered to her, "and I never believed him. I never believed I would disobey him until you came into our home and took him from us." "Godslayer," she said to him, never hearing her own words. "That is how I will be remembered." Talos blinked tears from his eyes. His thumb edged closer to the chainsword's activation rune. "Ave Dominus Nox," he whispered, and gunned the impaling chainsword into life. This was the moment the Night Lord's Legion, the 8th Legion, truly ceased to be what it once was. How differently this breaking of a legion compares to that of the Iron Warriors that we covered during Iron Warriors Week. And you really have to wonder here, is their descent all due to the corruption that had been spreading inside them for so long? Not due to their gene seed, but the corruption of a homeworld that had taken the Night Haunter's justice for granted. Konrad Curze, the Night Haunter, destroyed Nostromo for sending his legion nothing but murderers, convicts and criminals, for spreading the taint within his legion before it was too late. Is it that same taint now that caused the legion to break apart at the very moment of the Primarch's death? Or is there simply another reason? Could another character have held the legion together? Sevatar, perhaps, if he was still there? Or was it always destined to fall? Perhaps if Curze had acted earlier in halting the recruits that were coming into the legion, perhaps now their fate could still be saved. Or as always, as the Primarch thought, was their fate inescapable? And what of Talos here? Was he in the right or the wrong to betray his father's last wish? Or was he right in seeking retribution? And was it only greed in which his brothers finally acted? Or despite it all, did there still remain that sense of honour, meaning they never wished to break their Primarch's last wish, and that the theft of the artifacts, rather than greed, gave them a reasonable excuse to go after his slayer? As always guys, what do you think? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, I love to read them. Huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. And if you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again tomorrow as Night Lord's Week continues.